Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Okay, so this is going to be a reading on the recent news that Maine is not allowing Donald Trump to be on the ballot for the presidential primaries in 2024. Now, there's a longish story behind this, so give me a few moments to cover it. I may pause it so I can keep the story going fluidly. So Maine Secretary of State, a woman by the name of Shenna Bellows, basically on Thursday removed Donald Trump from the ballot. Basically saying he's not eligible to be on the ballot because he engaged in insurrection as per the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, Section 3. In Maine, anybody can challenge somebody running for office. And in this case, 3 of the state's residents challenged Donald Trump being on the primary. Sorry, a few pauses there. Quoting her, "I did not reach this conclusion lightly." In her 34-page decision, "I'm mindful that no Secretary of State has ever deprived a presidential candidate of ballot access based on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. I'm also mindful that no presidential candidate has ever engaged in insurrection before." True! Now, what's interesting here is that there's one Republican House member in Maine wants to have her impeached because from his point of view, this is clearly hyper-partisanship. But not all the Democrats are supporting her either. A number of them are basically saying that that they don't support him being removed. Susan Collins is on there. Let's see, what's this other person here? Jared Golden is a Democrat who represents Maine's 2nd congressional district that Trump won in 2020. Okay. He noted on X that he voted to impeach Trump for the January 6th attack, but doesn't believe he should win the next year's election. "However, we're a nation of laws, and therefore," this is the quote, "and therefore, until he's actually found guilty of the crime of insurrection, he should be allowed on the ballot." Now, I want to quote you something. I had to look this up. 14th Amendment, Section 3. I'm going to skip a little bit here, but basically, I'll read the whole thing. "No person shall be a senator or representative of Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States," which is one of the things of the debate. You think the president's an officer of the United States, "or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States," here's the key part, "shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies therein. Congress may vote of 2/3 of each house to remove such disabilities." So basically it says if you have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against Congress or the United States and you've taken an oath to the Constitution like the president does, you're not eligible to run for those or hold those offices. It does not say convicted. It says if you've engaged in it. That's the problem. Nothing in there says you have to be convicted. So when you have these state reps saying, "Oh, well, he hasn't been convicted in a court," that's not a requirement of the 14th Amendment, Section 3. Read your damn Constitution. Now, I'm getting all worked up here. They know that. This is just a great talking point to try and say, oh, I never said Donald Trump shouldn't be on the ballot. They don't want him on the ballot. Let's be real here. But they're giving themselves some cover, trying to sound like they're, tempered and even and stuff. No, it's not required. The dude led a freaking insurrection against the United States. And we're all there to see it. It's on TV. It's on video. Deal with it. You want to impeach her? Dude, go for it. She did her job, and he engaged in insurrection. Prove he didn't. So much fun to be in the United States right now. I'm 5 minutes in this video. I haven't even drawn a dang card yet. But let's look at the energy. She did suspend her order because she knows it's going to get challenged. And this is causing people to think that, yeah, this has to go to the Supreme Court of the United States. It just has to. because there's too many states with too many different rulings, and there needs to be, if nothing else, a clarification of the 14th Amendment, Section 3. Does he have to be convicted of an insurrection, or can he just have engaged in insurrection/rebellion? And is the president covered under Section 3, under the 14th Amendment, Section 3? Okay? So what's the energy going on in Maine right now regarding this issue? So we've got the 10 of Wands. That's a huge burden. Now, she even, the Secretary of State did say, she didn't take this job lightly. She was obligated to act by state law. There were multiple challenges to Donald Trump. She had to look at the issue and made a ruling. She tried to minimize the damage as best she could by suspending her ruling when she made it. But it was a tough ruling to make, and she knows that she's going to put a target on her back because the Trumpers, that's just how they roll, right? You ruled against Donald Trump, we're going to start with the bomb threats and the death threats against you. Ask the Chief Justices, the Supreme Court Justices in Colorado, how that's all working for them. Crossed with the victory card, the Six of Wands. It's a heck of a burden she has to do, but she had to do what she needed to do, and she felt she did the right thing. Now, on the low energy, this, I was telling you about putting a target on her back. Here's your target. The Six of Wands, low energy is, look at me. It's putting yourself in the spotlight. In this case, it's putting her in the crosshairs against those that don't like the message that she's giving. But she did her job. I think her interpretation is accurate. A lot of the other Congress people are saying, well, let the voters of Maine decide. Well, that's fine. The voters of Maine should be able to decide against candidates who are eligible to run. If my son, who's not 35, chose to run for president of the United States, the folks in Maine don't have the right to choose him. He's not 35. He's disqualified. He hasn't led a rebellion against the United States. Although I bet you if you asked him, he might be up for it. Underneath is the Knight of Pentacles. This is a message that she had to deliver. She didn't have a choice on this. She was forced to do it by law. Now, again, the coin, the offering here is that, okay, I've made my ruling, but I'm suspending it because I know the Supreme Court's going to weigh in on this one. And other talking heads have basically said the Supreme Court really needs to weigh in on this. It's just unprecedented. Now, I get it from the Republicans' point of view. They don't want their candidate taken off the ballot. They don't think it's fair, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I get it. And it's never been done before. I get it. But nobody else has tried to commit an insurrection against the United States and then run for president. Right? If this was anybody else who did it, you wouldn't allow it to happen. If Arnold Schwarzenegger wanted to run for president of the United States, you wouldn't be fighting it right now because he doesn't qualify because he wasn't born in the United States. If Taylor Swift wanted to run for president of the United States, she couldn't. She's not 35. You wouldn't argue with that. But your boy Donald there, you're willing to argue and go to the mat for him. He doesn't deserve that loyalty. In the past, King of Cups. This is a very much an emotionally challenged decision that was going on. Folks fighting against Donald Trump. He really does bring out the passions of people. Very few people can say that they have really no strong opinion on Donald Trump one way or another. I believe also this could be her, just trying to take her emotions, be emotionally mature on her rulings, and take her job seriously. She didn't want, this is a headache. This is an absolute headache for her. And again, expected death threats to come. But she did what she felt she needed to do. The one dude who thinks that she's partisan and she should be impeached, he should be thankful he's not in the same position that she's in and had to make a legal and ethical choice. Easy to armchair quarterbacker. Current situation in Maine, and now the fight begins. The fight to keep him off the ballot, the fight to get him on the ballot. There's going to be a lot of debating and arguing back and forth here on how this is going to work. What's interesting, also, in this article I was reading, is that Maine is one of the few states that actually splits its electoral votes. Trump was like 10 points behind Biden or so in Colorado in the 2020 election. So whether or not he's on the ballot in Colorado, if things go like they did in 2020, Trump is not going to win Colorado, nor is he going to get those delegates. So, you could kick him off the ballot in California. It doesn't matter for the presidential race. It just doesn't matter. He's never going to take California, never going to get California's electoral votes. The swing states, however, those are the important ones. The Wisconsins and the Floridas and the Texas and the, Florida and Texas aren't quite swing states yet, but they're getting close. But, Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, in states like that where it's close to 50-50, those are the key states. If Trump is off of those states, that's devastating to his campaign because you need to win those battleground states in order to get into the presidency. You could kick Biden off of the ballot in Alabama. It wasn't like he was going to carry Alabama anyway. It doesn't matter. So there's going to be a lot of fighting going on, a lot of legal maneuvering. I think she's justified. There's going to be calls for impeachment and stuff like that. She'll be able to fight those off because she did what she needed to do. Look at all these action cards, too. The overarching energy is the death card. It's bringing an end to things. Some of the energy is trying to bring an end to her career as the Secretary of State. This is also bringing an end to Donald Trump's candidacy in Maine. And it's using the Constitution, the thing that the Republicans claim they love so dearly, as the justification for his removal. Presidents are not kings, and there's the king being trampled to death. It really is going to be up to the Supreme Court to rule on this. The lesson to be learned is the Six of Coins. She made her ruling. Her ruling seems to be just and fair, but she's also throwing out the peace offering of delaying her ruling on this one. If I look at these cards, is Donald Trump going to be off the ballot in Maine? It looks like if the Supreme Court doesn't rule, he's going to be off. That's everything so far points to it being off. But the Supreme Court probably is going to rule on something. And that's what they're waiting for. Look at all those wands. So much action, so much energy going on this. So now Maine waits. The peace offer, the crumbs to the poor here is like, I've made my ruling, but in the name of justice and know that it's going to get appealed, I'm going to suspend my ruling pending the Supreme Court's ruling on this case. And now they wait. Now they wait for the Supreme Court to come back with what they can and cannot do. And truly what the Supreme Court's going to need to do is they are going to need to rule on the insurrection part of the 14th Amendment. Having, given comfort to the enemy or engage in insurrection. What does engage in insurrection mean? Is there going to be a litmus test for that? We've never had a presidential candidate do this. It's unprecedented. Okay. Will this case let's just do a couple of four-carders here. How did the Republicans in Maine view this ruling? It's Wheel of Fortune. They're going to wait and see what happens. Got the Walking Away card, Page of Wands, Two of Wands. Okay. They're going to make a big deal out of it. They're going to put their spin on this. They know what she did was right, and they know that this has been paused, but they're going to go forward with their message anyways. They're going to make arguments that she should leave, that she should be impeached. But I think also in some ways, some of them want Trump gone. It's like, he's done this. He deserves to be gone, but they don't have the courage to say that. For the same reason that she had to screw down courage to do it, because there's going to be a target on your back. So, I think they understand that Trump her ruling is probably correct that he could be kicked off the ballot. So they have to start making plans. What are they going to do if Trump is off the ballot? And how is the outrage going to go with that? They know this is kind of an inevitable thing. It's just show. This is just showmanship at this point. I think they'd like for him to go. They'll make the noise that they want her to go, but I don't think they really want her to go on this one. Again, it's only one guy right now screaming for her impeachment. And nobody else is. And most other people are like, well, it's terrible. The voters should decide. That would be like saying the voters should decide if Taylor Swift, who I think is around 30 years old or so, should be 25 to 30, if she should be allowed to run for president. The answer is no. She's not 35. Too bad. You don't like it? Rewrite the Constitution. Called an amendment. You're allowed to do those things. Okay. Will she be impeached? I don't think she will. My gut feeling says no. She hasn't done anything impeachable. They don't like her decision, but she also suspended it to get guidance from the Supreme Court. It's going to be really hard to impeach her for that. But will they push forward with the impeachment? They'll make a half-hearted effort on it. They'll try and bring a resolution in there. I got backroom dealings, planning, two pair of threes there. Do we get a third one? The Emperor. Okay. Yeah, are they going to try and impeach her? They're gonna raise Cain. They're going to say, they're going to clutch their pearls and say this is a horrible decision on her part. It's so partisan. They're going to grift. They're going to raise money off of it to stop the steal, as it were. There's going to even be announcements that they want to go forward with an impeachment on her. But in the end of the day, there's just going to be some backroom political dealings. They'll do some stuff behind the scenes that'll shut them up. And basically, she's going to maintain her position. There'll be, again, it's like a freaking crying. It's like a 3-year-old crying. Pair of threes. You got a 3-year-old crying. They didn't get their toy. They're going to cry and make a freaking fit out of it. So throw a little something at them to distract them and carry on with life. Didn't even need... Well, I guess I did need to throw on it because I'm curious. I was kind of curious how it would resolve itself. That's how it's going to resolve itself. Yeah. The GOP's going to... certain members of the GOP are going to cry bloody murder. They're going to have a tantrum. They're going to get a lollipop to shut them up. And then they'll go on. And they'll try and raise money off it. Welcome to American politics. All right. Finally, Supreme Court energy around this. What's the Supreme Court energy around ruling on the insurrection, on the 14th Amendment, Section 3? Now that you've got Colorado and Maine saying that he's off the ballot, Michigan and Wisconsin saying he can stay on it. You're getting different states doing different things. What's the energy around the Supreme Court? Just a quick little four-carder. There's the Supreme Court themselves, sitting there ready to judge, Judge Roberts and the justices. What are they going to do? Hangman, they're going to take a look at it. This is a willing sacrifice, but I think they're going to probably take a look at it. Oh, dear God. Deal with the devil. The MAGA folks. Look at that, 7 of Wands. Okay, what will the Supreme Court do? They are here they are sitting here. There's a lot of turmoil, and they really need to take action to stop this turmoil. We're up to what? I think 3 states. It was like 3 or 4 states, like Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and maybe another state said he can stay on. You've got Colorado and Maine saying he's off. So you've got all these fighting, all these different challenges that need to be addressed, and the Supreme Court should be addressing it. Now, central under the Supreme Court is the double card, the things that they willingly tied themselves to. Are they going to be sacrifices to it? supporting MAGA? Are they going to look at things differently and make some rulings? It's a conservative court. I think the Supreme Court will. I do think they will take this case up. They have to. I mean, honestly, they have to. But this card concerns me. I think you're going to see a very partisan Supreme Court on this, and they're going to try and figure out a way, some cockamamie way, to keep Donald Trump on the ballot. Yeah. I still think, in my heart of hearts, they're going to try and delay any ruling that would have disqualified him from the ballot until after the 2024 election. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that looks like, but that's what I suspect will happen. Maybe they'll come up with criteria as to how one could be considered to have engaged in insurrection and provided comfort to the enemy therein. And then, and give a laundry list that would be difficult and nebulous to prove or something along those lines. So it gets tied up in the courts. What I think they're going to do is they're going to rule on something in such a way that there's no clear-cut answer. So it just gets tied up in the courts with lawsuits and counter lawsuits. And then after the 2024 election, then they will clarify their position. It'll be made crystal clear that Donald Trump should never have been allowed to run for president of the United States. And I think they're really crossing their fingers that he does not get elected as president, so that they can then rule in such a manner without it causing political chaos and stuff like that, or some type of constitutional crisis in the United States. They don't have the courage. They don't have the backbone. They're concerned about turmoil and political unrest and civil turbulence. I don't want to say civil war, but a lot of turbulence and stuff like that. Riots in the street. They're doing it for the good of the United States and for us, as opposed to being adults. All right, getting grumpy on this one. So. In the end of the day, nothing's going to happen to the Secretary of State. She's already stated. Trump, they're going to challenge it up the courts of Maine, which means he'll be on the presidential ballot in Maine because her ruling's been stayed, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and likely they will rule in such a way that he can't definitively be kicked off the ballot in 2024. That's how I see it. Okay, anyways, broken record here. Thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for supporting my videos, doing the likes, the thumbs up, the comments, and all that good stuff that you do to help feed the YouTube algorithm and helping it get out to a wider range of viewers. To new viewers and new subscribers to the channel, welcome. Glad you found us, and I'll catch you on the next reading. Take care.